I think you yourself, while you're a nice guy, you're full of sanctimony. You become part of one of the parts of the problem of the media. You come on here and you have a monopoly on truth. You know exactly how things are supposed to be done. You are one of the reasons people can't stand the media. Sorry.
Democrats are set to take control of the U.S. Senate, House, and the White House.
This will go down as one of the most progressive administrations in American history.
God willing, everything is on the table.
You now can pass things without a filibuster threat.
You'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Welcome to the Ruthless Variety Program. Good Tuesday to you all. That was, I think, just a terrific takedown of Brian Stelter on his own show on CNN.
We love to see it.
It's pretty hilarious. You have Michael Wolff being like, you're not a solid journalist. You're garbage journalist.
Yeah, from an absolute fabulous Michael Wolff to say you are a garbage journalist.
So awesome.
I mean, total fiction all around. But my favorite part about it was watching the potato have to fully consume all of this on his own show.
On his own show, to camera, just stare ahead and sort of smirk as this guy just disassembles you as a journalist.
And everyone saw it. It was all over Twitter.
It was trending all day. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite parts is the interview goes on and he's like, Stelter's pushback. He's like, well, why, if I'm so bad, why do you come on? And he kind of takes a step back and he's like, I'm a book salesman.
That's pretty honest.
If I didn't have a book to sell, I would never come on this show.
And he kind of says it with a shrug.
He says it like it's like this is like a dental appointment.
Like a very much a Willy Loman-esque answer, right?
It's I'm a book salesman.
I'm a book salesman, and this is what we do.
Right.
Oh, well, we got a big show for you today. We have Senator Rick Scott, the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. He's going to break down the entire map and how Republicans get back to a majority.
Excellent.
We've got important economic news. You may have noticed, and you may not want to log into your 401k here this morning as you're listening to this. The market's not psyched. Not psyched.
And I like all the takes that are coming in. Like, I think Krugman tried saying, this is fine, this is normal. Like, all these crazy statements have come out. Like, Biden was saying that, listen, folks, yes, we have inflation, but, a few years from now, it's going to be okay. It's like, You're counting on having inflation going like this for a few years?
For years.
That's part of the baseline of where we're going.
And just to rewind the tape on it, it's the inflation plus we're paying people to not have a job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All of that's coming to an end. They basically have no economic answers whatsoever. People are trying to beg, borrow, and steal to get people to actually go to work. So all of the supply chains, whether they're foreign or domestic, have a huge problem, which is reflected in the market news.
Yep.
And all of this is of their own making.
Here's the situation is you've got, as you discussed, a workforce that's being told not to work, right? And then remember the stories we were told, now the adults are in the room, the experts who are going to trust the science and they're going to listen to the experts. Number one, he's not listening to the experts because he said the inflation is not that bad. Okay.
Dude, he said no serious economist is concerned about inflation.
And then Janet Yellen,
the chairman of the Fed, is concerned about inflation.
It's like maybe you should listen to the experts in your own cabinet.
Right.
He doesn't. They just don't know.
He
right?
does not, and he has no idea.
He's just totally asleep at the wheel. And the fact, asleep may be kind.
Right.
To be honest, vacant. That might be a more on nose way to put it. But anyway, needless to say, we don't have a lot of faith in the economy as it is. But there are a couple other things we got to get to. The TikTok Texans.
Boy, they really are like the gift that just keeps on giving.
I mean, these people are the worst.
Like news breaks that like 3 of them have COVID, right? And then you saw the photos of them all on their private jet, no masks. And a reminder, folks, private jets are covered under those like federal rules that you have to wear a mask on a flight. So openly, they were just flaunting that, hey, rules apply to you, not to us.
Oh, yeah.
And now the count's up to 5. It's like we have to keep hitting refresh. Like how many of these COVID Dems have been unleashed in Washington? And the number keeps going up. And they showed up thinking they're going to be like the biggest social media stars. They're like, I'm going to take a photo of my salad, you know. I'm gonna wash my
They're
clothes.
like, we're going to nail this.
And take a picture of my clothes drying. But the story is that they're all just catching COVID. Like these aren't folks crossing the Delaware with George Washington.
Right.
These are morons skipping out on their job, spreading COVID.
They skipped their job, flew to Washington. All they got for it was coronavirus.
Yeah, no, seriously. Seriously. And I got news for you.
You can print up some T-shirts, maybe.
The private plane you came on was not exactly the Underground Railroad, folks.
Right.
I mean, it was incredible that the moment that they landed, they just started screwing everything up and then could never put it back in the box. And they're still here. They're still here.
The spiciest take I like is from Red Steez, where he was like, these people took a plane, aimed it at the Capitol, full of COVID.
Oh, jeez.
They're a bigger threat than 9/11.
He's sort of throwing the January 6th thing back. And I like that.
It's got to be thrown right back at him.
Well, the important part, and here's a thing that I don't know, nobody's talking about, obviously, but there was a policy in place last year when Republicans had a majority in the Senate that required senators to quarantine every single time they came in contact with somebody who had tested positive, right? And it was a real challenge for McConnell and Senate Republicans because they only had, just a very slim majority in order to get these things done. And so they basically had to lock up their own people. Well, the Texas Dems come to town. I'm pretty sure they had lunch with Senate Democrats. I think they had lunch with Senate Democrats. These people all tested positive. Now, they have a 50-50 majority, right?
Right.
Do you think that any of those Senate Democrats are going to pay attention to the rules about quarantining?
Absolutely not.
They got a big vote on Wednesday for their infrastructure bill. How many do you think are going to be missing?
Wow.
Kamala goes to Walter Reed on Sunday.
For just a standard Sunday doctor appointment.
Just your standard Sunday.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to follow the rules.
I mean, it makes you wonder, right? Because the thing is if they had to quarantine, they wouldn't. I mean, they'd obviously get blown out of the vote. They're going to lose that vote no matter what. But it's an interesting thing nobody's talking about. Very, very serious about enforcing those rules when Republicans had the majority, I might add.
And, I mean, the like absolute hypocrisy of all of this, like, we used to hear about these super spreader events at the White House. You didn't hear that term used by the media once when these folks go meet with Kamala, like expose the administration to COVID, and their numbers keep climbing. So clearly they are like a super spreader. They're like a petri dish. These people just spreading disease.
And now they're basically on vacation and have nothing to do except quarantine here in D.C.
Yeah, why?
Like, go home. Get back on that private jet and go home.
Get out of here. All right. Well, fellas, we are less than 30 days away from our very first Ruthless Live event at the State Fair in Iowa.
Yes.
Let's go.
I mean, I'm incredibly excited. We're going to have an insane lineup of guests. I don't want to spoil it right now.
Nuts.
But it's a hell of a lineup.
Well, needless to say, we've been greeted with open arms. Open arms.
The good people of Iowa. We appreciate their hospitality, and we're looking forward to it.
We're gonna richly reward them. I'll be honest. I'm gonna bring such high energy. I mean, it's gonna be through the roof. Through the roof. How about you, Smug? You gonna bring high energy?
I mean, you know it. I wish I could tell the people the lineup we already have. I wish I could tell the folks the lineup we already had. It's incredible. Incredible.
I just want you to make sure you're personally prepared.
100%.
I just want to make sure.
I mean, who knows if I even want to come back? It sounded like it's going to be pretty amazing.
Okay. Sometimes I got to keep an eye on your energy, though. Make sure. Duncan knows what I'm talking about.
No, I'm going to come in hot.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about you.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. I'm actually afraid you might over-index on the other side.
It's possible.
But you are a Midwesterner, so you're not you're not going to offend.
No, I'm with my people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So a couple weeks ago, we asked people to provide their reviews on the program, to give us their 5-star if they're so inclined, but also to ask questions, and we'll read them on the show. I had to pick this one because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. This guy Josh sent in, I guess, a couple of days ago, was reacting, I think, Smug, primarily to your critique that we were talking about Bezos going to space, and we were talking about what's his name, the Virgin
Galactic guy, Branson.
Yeah, Branson going to space. And your take, which I thought was a well-informed one, was that he didn't quite make it to space.
Yeah.
Fake space, I think you called it.
Absolutely.
Josh has a problem with that.
Yeah. You want to read this or should I read this?
Well, I don't need to read the whole thing. The point is that perhaps most egregiously, Smug made reference to the Kármán line, a total arbitrary boundary of 100 kilometers, which is an international definition of space. The American good definition of space is 50 miles, which he's, of course, exceeded.
I have to point out that after international, in parentheses, he wrote commie definition.
Which he's persuaded me so far. So, and then he says the U.S. considers someone an astronaut if they travel above 50 miles, whether they enter orbit or not. Anyone who says Branson didn't go to real space basically hates America, and I demand an immediate retraction.
Well, first of all, I want to say I didn't know Neil deGrasse Tyson listened to our podcast here. I mean, this guy's like an astrophysicist here.
We got Gus Grissom coming on live. But he's taking shots at you. What, do you have a rejoinder here?
Here's the thing. In his first paragraph, he points out that, at a very high velocity. In reality, the reason you feel weightlessness in orbit is because the spacecraft is in free fall, exactly like Spaceship Two or New Shepard capsule. Weightlessness isn't a result of altitude. There's not a line where gravity is just switched off and you suddenly become weightless. That's what I said. The plane on the way down.
No, I think you're with
weightlessness.
I think you're copacetic here on the weightlessness gravity issue. I think that he's talking about fake space.
They got to get further out. This was fake space.
Okay.
They got to get out so far that the weightlessness is from floating around in outer space.
In orbit. Like at least in orbit outside.
I say beyond. You got to get up there. You got to get into real space. If you're paying money to be in space, you should get space.
Like you got to go to the moon.
Yeah. It's like you show up to a bar and you say, "Hey, I want a shot of bourbon." And the guy's like, "Okay, here's a beer." That's not it, buddy. That's not it, buddy.
That's it. Ball's in your court, Josh. Smug's got you back. All right, so let's get into the stuff here. You guys been paying any attention? I'm into the Olympics in a major way, but I'm having a tough time getting into it because the rest of the world basically sucks and can't figure out how to vaccinate or anything else, and they're still dealing with COVID Delta Plus and everything else. But the one thing that really caught my eye was these beds. Did you guys see this?
Yes. Yeah. So the cardboard beds, right?
Yeah, cardboard beds. So there's always been the Olympic Village. There's always been a lot of rumor about what goes on in the Olympics.
It's known as being this like incredibly lecherous hotbed of just
yeah. It's like what the villages are to old people, like is the Olympic Village is to the young athlete.
Wow.
So I heard a story. This is an actual fact that at the Olympics in Rio, what was that, like 3 years ago, something like that. They handed out 450,000 condoms.
Yeah, I saw that.
Athletes.
I saw that. Well, they're distributing that again. They are doing that. But there has been an allegation that they are trying, because of the COVID concerns, that they're trying to dissuade this by setting people up on cardboard beds that were allegedly designed to collapse under the weight of fornicators.
I mean, this is a total engineering thing. Because, like, you tell the engineer the problem, they're like, make sure people can't have sex on the bed. And the engineers is like, okay, I will make a cardboard bed. Like someone's going to let a cardboard bed stop them, right? Let's be serious.
Yes, no one's ever had sex outside of a bed before.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say they're athletes,
right?
So their like physical ingenuity probably exceeds your average American. They're in the top health form of their lives. I don't think that's going to let a little cardboard set aside their ambition here.
Right.
If that's where this thing goes, right? Of course, I don't know. I'm not an Olympic athlete, but it's worth keeping an eye on.
And,
right?
I saw one of the Olympians posted a video saying that apparently the cardboard bed, like, not being able to withstand anything is fake news. He put a video up of him standing on the bed and jumping up and down as hard as he could, and it still was fine.
Was he like a jockey or something, or was he a real? Was he a big dude?
I think he was like one of the gymnastics guys.
Oh, really? So he was actually should have
Yeah,
collapsed
in theory,
the box.
It
if
absolutely
that's
should have.
Huh. Interesting. Well, look, I'm concerned about. I also saw that one of our sort of anonymously, one of our gymnasts may have contracted COVID.
That's right.
I will say. Let me just say this for the record: if somehow Simone Biles gets COVID and is disqualified from this Olympics, that is an act of war.
Boycott.
100%.
We must protect her.
That is an act of war.
I mean, this Olympics is going to be a disaster. It's going to be a complete disaster.
It should serve as a reminder to everybody who lives in this country. Like, look, they're about to hold an Olympic Games in Japan with like absolutely no crowds,
no spectators. And you see multiple athletes at this point have been disqualified because they got a positive test for COVID. I mean, this is going to be such I feel bad for that country. They were counting on so much tourism. They delayed it by a year, hoping that, COVID would be over. I mean, it's too bad they didn't have Donald Trump as president, or else they would have had, Operation Warp Speed.
True.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well,
it's
we had the Open, the British Open, that is.
Yeah.
Last weekend, and Matsuyama didn't play, and Bubba Watson didn't play because of the COVID protocols that were going on over there. So I mean, it's not just the Olympics; it's everything. Still.
It's everything. If you travel outside of our borders, Meanwhile, you've got concerts of 60,000 plus people going on here, like they were pre-pandemic. You've got sports venues that are full and full. Like NBA Finals is going on. We had the Stanley Cup. I mean, everything's basically back to normal in America. These guys are like, not happening. Anyway.
I mean, honestly, my theory is you're going to see the Dems make a push, especially starting in the fall, to bring back lockdowns. You see them being like, you got to bring back masks.
They're doing it already.
There was someone put out the statement saying that I don't know if it was like a federal authority or some doctor or something who said that children ages 2 and up should be mandated to wear masks in school.
Insane.
It's bad news.
It's insane, but it's actually the perfect segue to our next topic, which is that LA is bringing back indoor masks.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the thing, and I said this on Twitter. I got a little bit of blowback, but I from our California minions, but it's true. Do you want me to be concerned about that? When you vote for communists for the last 25 years, what do you expect? You're going to get communist policy. Here you go. Well, guess what? The state demands that you put a mask on, stand on your head, and send them a check.
It's like back to when, Gavin Newsom ordered even outdoor dining closed, just killing the restaurant industry, being like, even outdoor dining, not allowed.
Right. It didn't stop him from going to French Laundry, but...
Yeah, exactly. I mean... I really think this is going to become a big Dem thing. Is they're going to try going right back into shutdowns. I guarantee it.
Well, you can tell, by the way. I always can tell after years of doing this a Democratic agenda by how it's framed in the media, right? Because the media takes a look at your average Dem flack and they're like, I know what you're trying to do, but let me improve upon it.
Yeah.
Right. They always soften the edge, sand the edges of a Democratic argument and try to make it for them. And if you look at what they're talking about now with the Delta Comfort Plus variety, you can go 17 paragraphs before you get to the actual paragraph that describes that if you've been vaccinated, it has no impact on you. Right?
I mean,
the headline is all about the spike, all about the grave danger, about how it's more contagious, how it's more deadly, how it has all of these huge problems. And then the 17th paragraph is and if you're vaccinated, it doesn't matter.
And one of the Texas Dems actually kind of tripped up on their own messaging when he put out, he was trying to make it sound like, oh, they're all innocent. How could they know this happened? He was like, listen, we'd been vaccinated, so they were only having a couple sniffles from the Delta variant, so we didn't know until they got tested. It's like, okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
This is like. in the media, if you read these reports, it's like, my God, the Delta variant is it's a death sentence.
And they've changed the narrative entirely. If you recall, if you want to go back in the time machine and put yourself in a time and place in March and April of 2020, it was all about flattening the curve. If you remember, all the scientists, they talked to us about, we need to quarantine, we need to shut things down, we need people in masks and to stay at home because the hospitals can't take the numbers of a massive influx, right? Even at the time, they said, look, there's a large portion, perhaps the majority of the population that may not be symptomatic. But because of the number of people who are elderly and otherwise infirm, we have to actually shut everything down because those people alone are enough to overwhelm the hospital system. Nobody's talking about that now.
Yeah.
Right? We've already got, 70% or so of people vaccinated. You have all the people who've been infected by COVID. We are far past herd immunity in a lot of places in this country, but nobody's talking about the simple principle of why you went into quarantine and masks to begin with. It had nothing to do with getting the sniffles.
Right.
It's no longer now about flattening the curve. It's really clear. Like, the Dems see this as a complete opportunity for control and like a backdoor for them to pass like Green New Deal. You know, they just want everyone basically living at their whim. And they're gonna do whatever they can. It's gone from flattening the curve to 0 cases in all of America.
Dude,
until that day.
So we've had 35 million confirmed cases of coronavirus.
Right.
80% of coronavirus cases are asymptomatic.
Right.
That wouldn't be picked up. So at that point, you're at like 130, 140 million people who've actually already been exposed to this virus. And then on top of that, 70% of the country is vaccinated.
That's right.
So there's people with immunity who maybe aren't vaccinated. There's people with immunity who already had natural immunity that are vaccinated. What I'm saying is, like, the doom and gloom of our media that is desperate for clicks in an age after Donald Trump has to hide the ball on all of that and make you, scared to go outside your house.
And that's what they're doing, right? I mean, the stat is 89% of Americans age 65 plus are at least partly vaccinated. That's almost 90%. Wow. I mean, those are the people we got to be concerned about.
I saw somebody on Twitter talking about this data out of Israel about, breakthrough cases, people who had the Pfizer vaccine and still got COVID. And they're like 60% of the cases,
right.
The serious cases, are people who had the vaccine. That 60% is based off a total number of serious cases, 58.
Come on.
Yeah, seriously. So you're talking like 35 cases or something like that, right? And these people want to determine public policy decisions that will impact millions of people.
Yeah. Well, make no mistake, they're not lining it up yet because they're talking about infrastructure and a different way to spend $3.5 trillion, to try to jam down
Right.
your throats and ruin your economy. But make no mistake, they're going to come back to the well again on all of this.
Right.
And I mean, also, it's going to be just like last year. When you get into fall, when it starts getting cold, it's people gathering indoors.
That's right.
That's just what happens. Like your family members, like Thanksgiving, just same as last year. But the thing to keep in mind is, like we said earlier, that we were told this was about flattening the curve, not 0 cases. And the vaccine is so widely available. Multiple vaccines, Operation Warp Speed, thanks Donald Trump. Like, the vaccine is widely available. At this point, the only people who aren't vaccinated are unvaccinated by choice. That's it. And there's if you're unvaccinated, they've decided to accept the risks. And why should the entire country go back into like a lockdown masking situation when we've already seen that if you're vaccinated, the Delta variant, I mean, the Texas Dems are a perfect example. They're like, it was sniffles. Sniffles.
Right.
They want to shut everything down again. They want to destroy
For
whatever
sniffles.
Small businesses have survived for sniffles.
And Texas itself is doing a hell of a lot better than the Texas Dems, I might add.
Yeah.
Their COVID numbers have been extraordinary. In fact, I feel like the spike was probably due to the crew that hit the plane and landed at Dulles.
Well, and back to your point, Smug, it's like the vaccine is, and nobody is confused about how to get the vaccine. I mean, I got the vaccine like 3-4 months ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows that the vaccine is out there and you can get it.
Right.
You know, it's not like we don't have the ability to find and get this vaccine. There's actually 3 of them.
Yeah.
The rest of the world would love to be in our position.
Right.
You know? But if you listen to our media, the sky's falling. Always.
Totally. And chances are, if you've chosen not to get it, it's because you have good reason to. And, you know, like the Variety program is going to respect your decision either way. That is not the case for your government.
And again, I think it bears touching on the fact of the amount of science deniers that the Dems, like you look back and Kamala Harris said she wouldn't trust a Trump vaccine, you know, like there's this, I found this tweet from the Daily Kos pointing out that they even said neither should anyone else. These are media companies, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a left-wing media company, but during Trump, they were saying, "Oh wow, I can't believe this vaccine. There's no way it can be done so fast. This has to be a total political move. I don't trust it. It's dangerous."
Yeah, they could. The buzz phrase was Donald Trump's rushed vaccine.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's what they all said in the fall last year.
Yeah, except for the fact that all of them were probably in the front of the line making up pre-existing conditions for themselves,
Yeah.
for them and their
Totally,
families, so
totally.
they could get to the front of the line, take the vaccine, triple mask, and hide in their basement.
Right.
Which don't tell them.
And now they want to blame Republicans and Facebook and Fox News for missing their own vaccine goals. The Biden administration is scapegoating everybody.
Oh, I know. That's my favorite part.
Right.
It's like somehow Fox News' fault that they can't get vaccines distributed to the president's mark. I mean, it's.
That's a perfect segue to what we're going to talk next.
Yeah.
The whole Facebook situation, which is incredible, because Biden, a reporter asked him, "What's your message to platforms like Facebook?" And Biden says, "They're killing people.
Yeah.
They're killing people."
So we've been kind of waiting to load up on this for a long time because we knew this was coming. And we have strong takes in the Variety program. They might be a little counterintuitive. They are certainly not shallow. These are deep opinions. Some of us do this for a living. We have some thoughts. My first reaction, you have Jen Psaki, press secretary for the president, standing behind the podium saying, in a sense, that the government of the United States is flagging for Facebook information that they deem to be misinformation, that they hope Facebook will work in cooperation with them to take down. Right?
Yeah, these are the same people who said Hunter Biden's laptop was misinformation.
Yep.
These are the same people who said that the lab leak was a conspiracy theory.
Yep.
Are they banned from social media?
They
No?
are the ones
J-
that spent 4 years telling us the Russia hoax was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's so many cases of misinformation. Like we went back and Kamala Harris being like, "I don't trust this vaccine." That now that they're in power, they're trying to have a clampdown on anyone who disagrees. And remember how like you heard all these stories are like, "Oh my gosh, Trump's a dictator, Trump's authoritarian." Imagine if he said that if we don't agree with something on Facebook, we're flagging it for them to take it down.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, all of this is bullshit, right? Let me just frame it, and then I want Duncan to just like weigh in with both feet because he does this for a living. The reason that you see so much hostility from the left to places like Facebook is because it's the only place on planet Earth that they haven't figured out how to entirely, and I don't mean 80%, 90%, I mean 100%. The only place that they haven't figured out how to control the distribution of information.
Yep.
Whether it is entertainment, higher education, corporate America, newspapers, cable television other than Fox, every single distribution network of any kind of information in this country is entirely controlled by the liberal left except social media.
Yes.
Right? So the reason that they are so angry about this is because it is a threat to their business model. They know nobody will buy what it is that they're selling. They know that. They know that America is not interested in becoming a Marxist socialist country. They know that. But if you can, for a period of time, control everything from the curriculum in your schools to the information you hear on the news to the higher education that you learn about the failures of our founding fathers, ultimately to the entertainment industry and all of the news and circulation, they think there is a chance you can be brainwashed to the point where you just blindly elect Democrats. And Facebook fucked that up for them.
So like you saw people the other day, liberal journalists essentially, flipping out, being like, Ben Shapiro, his articles on Facebook perform better than like the New York Times. And they're like, this is a problem. Like, what?
Yeah. So for our listeners, there was this big story in NPR on Monday about how, Ben Shapiro's the king of Facebook and what a terrible thing that is. And I think what it does is it reveals a little bit of what Holmes was saying here earlier, is that this isn't actually a principle. It's about market share, right? Because what happens is all of these legacy media publications have to spend money on social media platforms like Facebook to get referral links back to their website, clicks, from posting their articles. And that traffic is their lifeblood.
That's how they make money.
That's how they sell advertising. So what they want to do is work the refs and get Facebook to rig the game for them so that their content is distributed more frequently than, say, the Daily Wire or Ruthless, for example.
And they want it, by the way, just because they're them.
Because they're them.
It's not because there's any content that's any more worthwhile or not worthwhile. They're like, what the hell? We're the New York Times.
Well, here's the thing. It really is. It is not about principle at all. There was this post about from ComScore. These are the latest website traffic figures. CNN down 20.1% year over year. Vox Media down 16.1%.
Are these clicks or viewership or
this is site traffic?
Oh, this is online traffic.
Yes, this is their lifeblood. New York Times down 33.9%.
Wow.
The Washington Post down 27.5%. Are you starting to get it?
Yeah.
You starting to understand why they're attacking social media?
This is it.
Right.
And it's the same thing on TV. Like the numbers for CNN and MSNBC have gone to hell. So what are they doing? They're attacking Fox News. They want to just get rid of their competitors because people don't want their garbage. They want people to be forced to see their garbage.
And this takes a little bit of nuance and thought, right? Because look, I'm as irritated as the next person at the ban on Donald Trump from Facebook and Twitter and everything else.
It's insane.
I think when they
Completely nuts.
get into content moderation, it's a huge mistake. I said at the time, I knew this was going to be the slippery slope. That's where we've landed. It's problematic. You should not let that blind you from the ultimate war over what social media is about here.
Yeah, right. The real war is between tech and media for market share.
That's what it is.
It's as simple as that. They don't give a shit about Russian disinformation or COVID vaccine disinformation. All they want is to pressure Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey to show more links to Washington Post and CNN.com. It is as simple as that. They want a monopoly over social media like the monopoly they have on higher education and Hollywood and corporate America and corporate media.
And that's the business case. There's also the narrative. Right? Which is where the Democratic Party, liberal progressives, coastal elites, corporate America, higher education all come together because they produce the media elite. These are the one and the same.
Yeah.
And these are the people who then decide what to disseminate.
Yes.
Right? These are the people who decided for 4 years a Russian disinformation campaign was at the center of what America needed to talk about in its new president of the United States. These people decided that.
Right.
They implemented it.
Mm-hmm.
Without access to social media, without access. Let me just say this. The Hunter Biden thing, as much as they shut that down, and they did, travesty. We still wouldn't have heard about it at all if it wasn't for social media.
Yeah, that's the thing. It cuts both ways. And that's the most important thing to remember, I think, is you got to take a long view of this. And of course, guys, I mean, I do this for a living. I'm a digital media consultant, right? So I'm on these platforms all day, spending money for clients all day. I've worked with Facebook and Twitter and all these folks and reps there all day. So I am 100% biased. I think the internet's great.
Yeah, and I'll say from my standpoint too. I mean, full disclosure, I work with coalitions that are take this point of view that I'm taking. I think it's really important. I think this is one of the information flow fights of our life.
Dude, it absolutely is. And not just information. If you are a Republican campaign, you probably raise 25% of your small dollar money on Facebook and Google search. Like 25% of all of your fundraising will happen on those platforms. Facebook is the best what we call direct response platform on the internet. If you're trying to get somebody to donate, if you're trying to get somebody to subscribe, if you're trying to get somebody to look up their poll location, go vote. You know where you do that? On Facebook.
If you're a Republican,
right?
If you're a Democrat, you get it on ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, and every single one of your daily publications.
They want to mediate our entire political discourse and conversation. And social media is our only way around it.
Anybody ever wonder why, and believe me, I don't blame you that if people have never watched this ever, but every Democratic campaign for Senate or a significant congressional race rolls their campaign out on Morning Joe.
Yep.
And they give their website about 13 times.
Yeah.
Right? And they know because their audience will immediately go to start donating, and that's how they cultivate this, right? Republicans don't have that. Fox has some integrity. They actually don't do that. They will not do that. There is no show on Fox that actively promotes fundraising for Republican candidates. There just isn't. The only place the Republicans have been able to gather to do that is Facebook.
Right. Yeah, there's text messages, there's email, and there's Facebook. I mean, that's how we raise all of our small dollar money. And here's the thing, that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? Trying to get our campaigns to be grassroots
less
funded
corporate
from the ground up. That's great.
Yeah. What makes all of this particularly pernicious, and this is where I want to take it full circle back to the Psaki comment about how they're flagging things that they see as disinformation and hoping that Facebook will do something about it, is that they're also simultaneously holding out antitrust action against these companies.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, we have some ideas of what ought to show up on your website. Oh, yeah, no, by the way, all of the people that we got confirmed through the Senate who have jurisdiction of oversight over your companies all want to break you into a million pieces.
It's unreal. It's like a racket. That's what it is. It's extortion.
It's a shakedown. It's a full shakedown. But see it for what it is, right? Again, I'm as mad as everybody else is about the idea that they can take somebody off the platform like they did the former president of the United States. That's not good. But I feel like they backed him into that because they're doing what they're doing. And they're trying to take the next step by now basically showing up at the front door saying you got a real nice house.
Right. It's an extortion racket.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And
it's because Ben Shapiro's number one on Facebook. It's because Republicans succeed on Facebook. It's because we raise money on Facebook. And the media's market share is going down, down, down.
That's right. That's right. So see it for what it is, right? I think we should do more of these because there is more that meets the eye in the discussion. And you hear the outrages from both sides that sort of, I think, cloud the reality, which is very much a media versus social media campaign. But really the whole thing is just about narrative setting. Whether the liberal, democratic, elitist, coastal people in this country have a monopoly on what information you should see and hear.
That's exactly right. I mean, we really should go more into this because it's something that really grinds my gears.
Dude, I mean, I could talk about it for 10 years. I could go all the way back to the, Russia hijacked the election by buying some Facebook ads and tell you in Cambridge Analytica, and we could go into all
it's
that
all
stuff.
bullshit. I mean,
complete bullshit.
Maybe we should hit it for a second. I mean, the thing is that in 2012, when the Obama campaign was doing all of this stuff, remember they were talking about how they targeted a little segment in Jacksonville.
They're like,
because
these are geniuses.
Yeah, right. Because they thought all of these things are so smart and oh my gosh, they're so brilliant. And then as soon as the Trump campaign did it in 2016, it's like, shut down Facebook.
Yeah, shut down the whole thing.
Yeah.
Shut down the whole thing.
I mean, they damn near broke the internet because they had a shitty candidate.
Yeah, because Hillary Clinton lost an election. Yeah.
I mean, But that's the continued effort. And what people are doing by trying to perpetuate this absolute myth about what's going on here is to surf the wave of injustice, which there clearly is in terms of like censoring stories and stuff like that, to convince you to censor more, right? To censor more, to make sure ultimately where this lands is that Jen Psaki dictates off the White House podium what it is that you ought to learn on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you want a really interesting thought experiment. I'll give you a little homework. Go and look up the book Victory Lab by Sasha Eisenberg, which was written after the Obama campaign, and how they describe what they did on social media and how innovative it was. And then try to imagine the words Donald Trump written in there and how the reaction would be.
And the best part, so I know a couple of employees who at the time worked in the sort of the campaign side of Facebook, and their job was to try to educate campaigns on how to use it. Both sides. They had a Republican team and a Democratic team. And the Democratic team was hailed as like these heroes.
Gurus.
Right? Just absolutely brilliant. And then in 2016, the Republican team was like traitors to their country.
Yeah.
They couldn't get a job in tech again because everybody shut them down.
One of the incredible fake news things that sort of lingered out there for a while is that, the Facebook team was embedded.
Oh, yeah, that's
They were
my favorite
embedded
one.
in the Donald Trump campaign. And it's like, these people are salespeople. It's like, this is something they offer every national political campaign. We will help you use our platform, utilize it in every way possible.
Which, by the way, TV has done for years.
And they offered it to Hillary Clinton's campaign, and they said, no, we're good. They weren't good, folks.
They weren't good. They weren't good at anything. But look, this is going to be a long-lasting discussion. There are merits to the discussion about the power of social media, and there are concerns that people should express about, what all of this means in terms of our information flow. But do not get suckered into believing that this is simply a like conservative fight against tech and social media, because ultimately where it ends is you watching ABC, CBS, and NBC and having higher education dictate to you exactly what it is that you ought to think.
Right.
Bingo.
All right, we got a big interview, guys. We got a big interview. This guy's took the reins of the National Republican Senatorial Committee in January. And I asked him about this. Immediately the media seized upon him because he objected to one of the I think Pennsylvania, one of the campaign or one of the election results. And immediately the media said, like, he'll never be able to raise any money. Corporate America's going to abandon Republicans. It's not going to be a thing, right? He set records every month since.
Perfect.
So here he is, NRSC Chairman Rick Scott. I want to welcome to the program a very good man, a man who's got a big job this cycle, the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, Senator Rick Scott. Welcome.
It's great to be with you. Now, the test is going to be, we got to win, right?
That's right. It's not enough to have
it's a nice title, but winning is more important right now.
No, that's right. Well, that's why we're happy you're there, because there's hardly anybody I know who's more competitive than you are, and we're going to need it. Historically speaking, should be a good cycle, given the fact that Democrats have unified control. Their first midterm, I think, only twice in 100 years has it ever gone the other way on us. But that's not a guarantee, right? That's all real.
We still have to raise the money and find good candidates and run races, right?
That's right. And I remember, in the first month that you took over the reins at the NRSC, there was story after story about, the senatorial committee is not going to be able to raise any money. Corporate America has bailed out on Republicans. What's Rick Scott going to do? And then basically everything you've done since is break records every month.
So we did. So we raised $51.2 million our first 6 months. I think it was over 600,000 individual donations. Half our money now, almost half is online, digital, email and text. Yeah, I think people are interested in getting a Republican majority back in the Senate. What do you think?
It turns out that a bunch of journos in New York and D.C. don't have the finger on the pulse of the American electorate.
They're not even close. We did a battleground poll of just 26 states. I think it was about month and a half ago. In a generic ballot in the battleground states, we're winning. I think we're winning by 5 or 6 points just in generic ballots. So it just comes down to raise our money, get good candidates, get through our primaries. We have good candidates out of the primaries, and then run good races, and we're going to win.
Yeah, no question. Well, I want to get into this a little bit. This is going to be our first 2022 preview. I hope we can do it more than once, but I feel like there's a complicated cycle in a lot of ways because you've got some opportunities on the Democratic side. We've got a couple of seats that we obviously got to play defense on, but there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that can play out here. And one of the things I wanted to do, get your thoughts on first, is the offensive posture. The media basically never talks about this, but the reality is New Hampshire, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, other blue states in terms of Democrats, they have a real liability on their hands.
Well, first off, Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, they're all our friends in this endeavor. I mean, what they're doing is crazy. I mean, checks to illegal immigrants, checks to felons. I mean, the guy that shot the 17 people at Parkland School got a check. I mean, come on. I mean, they're spending this to oblivion. They have an open border. They're not showing up against Cuba, Iran, anybody. I mean, they're helping us. But here's what we got. Everybody's sort of waiting in Georgia for what's Herschel Walker going to do. But I think we're going to end up with a good candidate there. If we do, Raphael Warnock is not Georgia. I mean, Georgia's not a blue state. Georgia's not a Marxist state. That's where Warnock is, right? And Kelly, when he ran against McSally, he acted like he was this moderate. No, he votes 100% of the time with Chuck Schumer. So if you believe Chuck Schumer fits into the Arizona politics, then you have to believe the Democrats are going to win. I don't think he does.
And Mark Kelly makes Kirsten Sinema look like Ted Cruz.
Right. And so we've got quite a few good people running. So I think we're going to end up with a good candidate. I think there's always still a chance Doug Ducey's going to run. We'll see what happens there. In Nevada, we have 2 people in. It looks like Laxalt might be getting in, so we're going to have some good candidates there. Cortez Masto only won 4 years ago by 2%. Right. And then up in New Hampshire, Hassan is underwater, I think, on our unfave without a race. Yeah. And if Chris Sununu gets in, a very popular governor who's done a great job, I served with him when I was governor. I think we're going to win there. And there's other states. I mean, because the Biden agenda, the Schumer, Biden, Pelosi agenda, it's not popular. Right. I mean, open borders, closed schools. I mean, none of this stuff is what people want in this country. So we just got to raise our money, good candidates, run good races.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that raises a good point, actually. You have a relationship with a lot of these people because of your time as governor of Florida. Chris Sununu, a lot of people who listen to this program, very interested in getting him into that Senate.
What a good guy. What
a great guy.
He's a really good guy.
He is.
He would be a good U.S. senator. He's been a good governor. He's only served with them 2 years, but he's done a good job in New Hampshire, and I think he'd be a good U.S. senator, and I think he'll have a big win.
Any chance we can talk Larry Hogan into taking it on in Maryland?
I don't know. I think there's a chance. I mean, he hasn't said he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Larry's a very successful Republican governor in a blue state, so it's nice to see. Both of them got elected while I was at the Republican Governors Association, right. And so they've done a good job in their states. And so, yeah, I think we have a shot. I think we have a shot with Doug Ducey. I think there's a chance he'll run. Very popular governor. I think he won by 15 points 2 years ago. Yes. So, I think we've got a lot of good opportunities, and there'll be others besides those 4 because the Biden agenda. I mean, a lot of it is it really just comes down. The Biden agenda is unpopular, so we have to have a candidate that is very good, and then they have to raise their money. We're going to do everything we can to help them. We're building up a big online donor base that we will be able to help share those donors with all Republican, our existing incumbents, which we're supporting, and people that get through the primary and the open primary.
Yeah, no question. Well, look, it's been an impressive effort thus far. Let's talk a little bit about some of these red states that are the difficult variety that we're going to need to defend. We've interviewed actually, I think 2 or 3 now candidates in Pennsylvania who are vying to replace Pat Toomey there, which is no easy task, as you know. Pennsylvania, difficult place, but it seems to me, based on our conversations, we already have at least 2 or 3 candidates who look like they're pretty battle tested. What's your sense of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I think first off, if you look down ticket, we lost the presidency in 20, but down ticket Republicans did well. They've got a good state party structure. Their state party chair seems to be very good. So I think they're organized. We've got some good candidates running, and I think we're gonna do really well there. We're not going to get involved, as you know, in the primaries, but we have good options there.
Yeah, I agree. The other one we're looking at, obviously, North Carolina, same circumstance, replacing retiring Senator Burr. Going to be a wide open primary. Former President Trump has made an endorsement of Ted Budd. It looks to me, again, like it's a place where you have 2 or 3 really viable candidates. Yeah. You're feeling okay about North Carolina at this point?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, you're right. The president endorsed Budd. And then I served with Pat McCrory as governor.
That's right.
He was a successful governor, and he's since then he's had a good talk show. So I think it's going to be an interesting primary. And then we got Walker in the race. So we've got three good candidates, and it should be. We should win in North Carolina. If you look at the Biden agenda, if you look at the interest on our side, we should win in North Carolina. We should win in Pennsylvania. So I think we got to. If it's our fault if we don't.
Yeah. Well, North Carolina, and actually your home state of Florida, has fallen into this category the last few elections too. But I always laugh in that North Carolina, in recent history, it's been the place where Democrats go to dump $100 million, right, and come out with an L. I'm certainly hoping that history repeats itself there.
Oh, I mean, look at South Carolina last race. What did Harrison spend? 130?
Yeah,
and he raised all that money online, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'll tell you. What's changing now is we are actually really doing a good job of raising money online, and guys like Tim Scott, John Kennedy, Marco Rubio, others like that are doing a good job of raising money online. And then, we're raising over $4 million a month just online. We're making big investments this month. We made a big investment last month to expand our donor base. We added in the first 6 months 64,000 new that had not given money to the NRC before.
That's great. That's really great.
And
that's early on.
Can share. And Josh, we can share those with all of our candidates.
Yeah.
That's what's great about what we're doing.
Well, it is certainly a testimony to what you're doing, that it's happening this early in the cycle. I mean, you have people after a tough election usually have a political hangover for a little while before they re-engage. But thus far, it looks like people are ready.
Oh, no, I think, well, first off, we took over January 11th. Jackie Zeckman is the executive director. She's working hard. They put together a really good team here. On the finance side, Jenny Drucker, but we brought in people like Matt Moon. They came from the Business Roundtable. We got a great team here led by Chris Hartline. That's what we're doing is we're defining the Democrats every day. If they wake up, they do anything on the Senate floor, we're going to do everything we can in English and Spanish to make sure in their home markets everybody knows what they're doing. Yeah. So that's what Chris Hartline's team is doing. So we have a great group of people doing that, and then we've got this great online group. And those online donors, they're also going to be voters, and they're also going to be volunteers.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. I got a couple more states I want to whiz through. Your home state of Florida, I can't imagine Marco gets in any trouble there. He's already off to a great start. What's your sense in Florida?
Yeah, Marco's doing a good job. He's working hard. He's raising his money. He's getting around the state. In Val Demings vote 100% of the time with Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is not getting elected in Florida.
Right.
And so all we're going to do is make sure everybody knows that if you vote for Val Demings, you're voting for Nancy Pelosi, and that's not so. I think Marco's going to do fine. We got Missouri. We've got at least 3 people in the primary so far.
Right.
4 people. So I think we're going to end up with a good candidate there. Alabama, Trump endorsed Mo Brooks, but we also have Katie Britt and Linda Blanchard in that race. And if you look at everybody's raising money.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
What are you going to do? So obviously you're not going to get involved in primaries. Ohio is the one state I get out of here because it's like everybody and their mom is running for Senate, and
but they're good people. We got ex-party chair. We got 2 business guys. We got a state controller. We've got some good people running. So it'd be like some of them spread those out some other states too, right?
Seriously.
I think we're going to get a good candidate, and we're going to win there. We should win there. I'm still bugging Grassley and Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson to make sure they announce they are running on top of just raising money. Actually, announce you're running. That would be helpful to me.
Well, we
So
lobbied Grassley pretty hard. He was on the program a couple of months ago. We really gave him the business, and he wasn't going to commit, but I think he's heading that direction.
I think he's going to run. I just did a fundraiser for him down in Naples, Florida. And so if he flies all the way from Iowa down to Naples, Florida, I think he's probably going to run.
Especially this time of year, right? He doesn't like to leave Iowa this time of year.
No, and it was hot and humid in Naples then. So that's you raise money in Naples, but you do it in the winter, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You don't come there in the summer. I thought, we worked hard to make sure it was a good fundraiser. But I said, Chuck, you can make my life easier if you just come in like when people are here.
No kidding. And you mentioned Ron Johnson. He said what? He's going to make a decision at the end of the year at some point.
I bother him every day. Yeah. I mean, I bother him every day, but he's raising money. He's out campaigning. He's around his state every weekend. So I think I can't imagine. He cares so much about the country. Ron's a great guy. He gets down because part of this job is frustrating because you know where you need to go and can't get there in a day. So, but I think he's going to run and he'll win. I'll tell you what. One of the reasons he's been able to win is he made sure at their state house level, which is like I think called the Board of Assembly, stuff like that. He made sure somebody was running in all those. He got the same number of Republican votes as all those Republicans individually. That's why I tell people as I travel the country, run. We got to get people in school board races and mayor's races, state rep races. We got Republicans everywhere. Just run, and we'll keep winning more.
That's right. That's 100% right. And we've actually talked about this a little bit on the program. This is the first time I remember, at least, Republicans at an extreme local level being interested. Of course, the critical race theory issue and school boards and coronavirus with schools being out, it has just made everyone at an extreme local level intensely engaged for the first time that I remember in 20 years of doing this.
Josh, I went to Turning Point USA last weekend and gave a speech. They had 4,000 people there.
Wow.
Okay. And I think one of the biggest issues is high school and college students was critical race theory and what these school boards are doing.
Yeah.
And what's happening at these universities. So I think we're going to get a lot of people running for these school boards. And if we do that, then it's going to help us in our mayor's races and all these other races.
Yeah.
So,
and that's you get this because you did it as governor, that it's really important that folks party build from the ground up, right? It's not just about whoever's at the top of the ticket, that ultimately the bench is just as important in terms of your ultimate turnout along the way.
Well, they build the grassroots. Just like I work really hard to make sure we have a good working relationship with the NRCC and the RNC. Well, if Tom Emmer and Steve Scalise and Kevin McCarthy do a good job at the NRCC, they're going to help get the vote out. It's going to help us win statewide races.
That's right.
That's true at the state level. When I'm in my two governor's races, one thing that was frustrating is that we didn't have as many competitive state house and state senate races. So if you don't have a competitive race, you don't work your butt to get your butt off to get the vote out. And so but the NRCC's got they've got a lot of good candidates like we do, and I think they're going to work hard to get the vote out. And the RNC is working hard to do voter registration and get the vote out.
Yeah. And I want to talk issues with you in just a second, but one item just in the electoral nuts and bolts category, you've had an incredible amount of success throughout your career at engaging the Hispanic community, particularly in South Florida, where we've got, in Florida now, boy, Democratic stereotypes for what people ought to vote just don't work.
No. We Republicans Hispanics are Republicans if we talk to them. I mean, they care about faith. We do too. They care about jobs. We do. They care about the schools. They care about public safety, all the things we care about. So they're aspirational, just like Republicans. So we just have to talk to them because they really will. They'll vote with us. I won the Hispanic vote in all my races, and we can win Hispanic votes all across the country. If you go to nrsc.org/poll, you'll see our Hispanic polls. We put out national polls. We did a Hispanic poll. It shows you it's not just Florida. It's Texas. It's all over the country. We can win the Hispanic vote. We just finished some polling groups, some Hispanic poll focus groups. Yeah, focus groups. We just did some Hispanic focus groups. And if you listen to what they're saying, they're Republicans.
Right.
You just got to go talk to them. So show up. I mean, it's fascinating. We can get their vote.
Yeah. No question about it. It's you've had an incredible amount of success in Florida, and as we've seen in Texas and other states, it's clearly an attainable vote. And I have a feeling that we're on the way to majority status within the Hispanic community, and sometime in the near future. Let's talk issues for a second. I know you mentioned a couple of things, a couple of reasons why Republicans are clearly on offense. What's your sense of like the 2 or 3 galvanizing issues that we're dealing with in the off year that you think ultimately are going to be really big game changers for us in 2022?
Well, I think the border crisis. I think it shocks people. It just shocks people that Biden has just decided to have an open border. I think that one just shocks people. I think the keeping the schools closed and the critical race theory is a big issue for people. What they're teaching, and then I think the third. It's always about your livelihood. I think this inflation that's really gotten really bad under Biden and all this reckless government Democrat spending. I think those. I always thought about. Here's what I thought about as governor. Number 1, help people get a job. Number 2, make sure their kids get a good education. And number 3, keep them safe. And I think those issues are going to apply this time. Defunding the police is not popular. Keeping schools closed, teaching critical race theory is not popular. Inflation, which impacts your livelihood, is not popular. So I think those issues are really going to hurt the Democrats.
That's a really good way of thinking of it. Those 3 buckets are absolutely true. And you can throw in to the safety and security side all of the crime that we're seeing across the country in cities that used to be just sort of magnets for fun and entertainment are all of a sudden really pretty dangerous places.
You saw just this week, this went Major League Baseball in D.C. I mean, the crime's gotten really bad.
Terrible.
I think someone was telling me this morning, this year in D.C., 100 homicides.
Oh,
told me today.
Man. I mean, it sort of shocks the sense. It comes sort of harkens back to that sort of early 90s type situation where crime was basically the only thing anybody talked about. And that coupled with, what perhaps is like a Carter era level of inflation and economic concerns, boy, it seems to me like Democrats have a tough thing to sell here.
Yeah, we just got to stay on message, talk about the things that are important to people, and that we, run your race.
Yeah.
I know we can win. We are on the right side of all these issues. We can win.
Yeah.
We just got to get people to run good races.
That's right.
And talk about the issues.
Don't take the bait. That's our mantra here on the program.
Right.
Just make sure you talk about what you want to talk about, not what the press wants you to talk about.
I know. I was on a show the other day, and they said that was a great pivot. But why don't we go back to what I wanted to talk about? That's what they got. What the guy that was interviewing me said. No. I want to talk about what I want to talk about.
McConnell used to tell me when I would stand uncomfortably next to him as he was getting reporter questions shouted at him, it gets a lot easier when you don't care what they think.
Yeah. Well, your audience is all the voters.
That's right.
It's not what Rachel Maddow thinks.
That's right. That's right.
She's not voting for me. You know that? Do you think there's much of a chance that she's going to vote for me?
I don't know. You might wear her down, Senator. You might wear her.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think she's going to vote with me.
I love it. All right. So I want to get to 3 big questions for you to get to know you a little bit. All of the minions tune in to these. So the first one is, if you can plan your last meal on Earth, what would it be?
I wouldn't really care what I ate. I've been blessed. I got married at 19. I've been married all my life. And so the big thing for me is if I was with my wife and my family, who cares what I eat? I don't really care that much about it. You can tell I don't eat enough, so I must not care too much. If I wanted anything, it would be some good dark chocolate.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, straight to dessert. You don't have to worry about your waistline on the last day.
That's right.
Fair enough. All right. So if you never got into this line of work, we know you were a successful businessman. We know that you've had an incredibly successful career before politics. But if you never got into any of this, what do you think you'd want to do for your life with your life?
I didn't get into politics. I loved business. I built a hospital company, I built a surgery center company, an urgent care company. I did some manufacturing companies. I love business. So I really enjoyed that. And then if I didn't do that, I might teach. I have daughters, they're older now, but I would teach high school basketball.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't a great basketball player. I got out of high school, same height as my wife, 5'5". So there's not a lot of 5'5" guys doing great in basketball, but I love basketball.
Ted Cruz told us that he wanted to be an NBA player. So I feel like if that's his dream, you can sure as heck coach basketball.
Yeah, I think I could. Yeah, I'm thinking about the NBA player part. Hopefully coaching would be fun.
I think you can get by. Absolutely.
We would focus on winning, by the way.
Yeah, that seems to be your MO. All right, third and final question. And this is good. This might tell us a little more about you. What motivates Rick Scott more, the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat?
I think it's just trying to. It's probably closer to worrying about. It's not agony of defeat so much, but worrying about, can I get where I want to go? Right. It's just some people, especially up here. I mean, what I've watched, I've been up here 2.5 years. You get sort of frustrated because things, you don't get where you want to go every day.
Yeah.
So there's two approaches. You can get down about it, right? Or you can say, okay, I'm going to try something different. I'm the guy that will try something different every day. I will not. I'm like Grant in Vicksburg, right? I took one of my grandsons to see Vicksburg, and what he took 9 times to take Vicksburg. I'll try everything to get where I want to go. So I'm probably closer to. I worry about defeat, but I'm not really about defeating. I'm not worried about how do I get where I want to go.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because it's almost like a hatred of defeat, right? It's not like the agony. It's just like, I always picture.
It's not going to happen.
Right. I always picture like Michael Jordan, right? It was every day, like winning, he was over it in 10 seconds, but the thought that he could possibly lose is what drove him every single day.
I've just got this, I have this, I got to get something done. I had a wonderful mom. She, I didn't think that as a kid. I had a single mom for a while, and we lived in public housing. She said, you can be anything, but you're going to be an Eagle Scout. You're going to go to church all the time. You're going to make straight A's, and you get out of the house and make some money. You better never get fired. I thought, man, nobody has a mom like that.
I mean, that's a to-do list, right?
That's exactly. And so I'm still a to-do person. I have a list all the time.
I love it. Well, listen, I want to do this a couple more times. I love your perspective. You're right in the middle of all of this, obviously, and we're all counting on you and everybody in that building to help deliver a Republican majority in 2022. Senator Rick Scott, thanks for your time today.
Okay, it's fun. See ya.
So it's a pretty good rundown. I like my favorite part about this, and we ought to do more of it. I talked to him about this, and I want to do it with Tom Emmer at the NRCC too.
Definitely.
Get us in early. Show us the map. Walk us through how we get to the majority, what your thought process is. Scott's taken a little bit different path than senatorial committee chairman before him in terms of primaries and whatnot. We're going to check back in on that. But honestly, I got a lot out of that. What I really liked is how he's honed in on these 3 issues that he thinks are mobilizing voters, one being open borders, one being schools, critical race theory, and the other being the economy and inflation and everything else. Because I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I agree on the Emmer thing as well. You know what I would love? I would love to have these folks back on or other folks just give us some insight on who are the candidates that we can help the most that need our help now. Like, who are the frontline people, especially in the House where you've got so many races that are going to be so close. Having people on who can say, all right, here are the 10 people that listeners to the Variety program should take a look at.
That's exactly right.
You know what I mean?
We want a map.
Because I've seen a lot of folks reach out to us and be like, all right, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? Well, I mean, I hope we can have some folks back on to, help direct some of this because here's the thing, as the digital guy again, and early money helps the most. Yep. The most.
It does. And you know what? Hopefully one of the things we're doing on the program is providing you a whole bunch of different voices for you to make those decisions for yourself. Because, there's a lot of primaries out there, a lot of open seats. There are some candidates that are going to strike your fancy, others that aren't. But I think we're probably going to try to have as many on as you want. And you can make the decision, but get involved because this is happening in real time.
Right.
One thing I dropped the ball on, fellas. I really dropped the ball.
Oh, no.
I've been kicking myself. Like, absolutely, the second I ended this interview, I was like, I I like to think I don't make a ton of mistakes with these interviews, but I made one. The bull. I feel like
yeah.
the Ruthless variety program wants a bull.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, I saw they gave one to the former president. Very nicely portrayed. Nice picture. It was a beautiful looking bull.
I mean, we absolutely deserve one.
I've seen. I think like Matt Schlapp got a bowl at CPAC.
We deserve a bowl.
I want a bowl.
100%.
And I can't believe I missed that. If no other, we're gonna have him back on so I can ask him about the bowl.
Well, I think I know how we can make up for it a little bit for our listeners. I say we do 3 episodes this week.
Yes,
let's do it.
Yeah, we've got so many interviews. We've got lots of games, tons of candy. We're going to have just a 3-episode week. So, until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Wednesday. Stay ruthless.